You swore you were done. Last time was the last time. You said it out loud. You meant it. You felt it in your chest. That clarity that only comes after you've been hurt enough times to finally learn. And then it happened again. Same desire, same pull, same decision you promised yourself you would never make again. And the worst part isn't that it happened. The worst part is that some part of you saw it coming and went anyway. You're not weak. You're not stupid. You're not broken. What's happening to you has a name. It has a mechanism. It has been studied in laboratories, mapped in brain scans, and documented across thousands of people who made the same promise. You made and broke it the same way you did. This is not a character flaw. This is neuroscience. And once you understand it, really understand it, you'll never see yourself the same way again. Let's start with a rat. In the 1950s, James Olds and Peter Milner at McGill University discovered that when they stimulated a specific region of a rat's brain, the nucleus accumbens, the rat would do almost anything to get that stimulation again. Press a lever 7,000 times an hour. Ignore food. Ignore water. Press until it collapsed. The stimulation wasn't pleasure. It wasn't satisfaction. It was want. Pure, consuming, relentless want, with no off switch. That region of the brain, the nucleus accumbens, is the same region that activates in humans when we desire something, not when we get it, when we want it. Your desire system was not built to make you happy. It was built to make you chase. Here's where it gets personal. Think about the thing you keep going back to. A person, a habit, a substance, a feeling, something you know, intellectually, is not good for you, or at least, not as good as it feels in the moment of wanting it. When you're away from it, you can see it clearly. You can list exactly why it's a problem. You can explain it to someone else perfectly. But the moment the desire activates, the moment the craving starts, that clarity disappears, not gradually, almost instantly. The rational understanding is still there somewhere, but something else is louder. This is not a failure of intelligence. This is two different brain systems operating at the same time, and one of them is significantly older and significantly more powerful than the other. Neuroscientist Antonio Damasio at the University of Southern California has spent decades studying the relationship between emotion, desire, and rational decision-making. His research revealed something that overturned a long-held assumption, that reason and emotion are separate, and that good decisions come from suppressing emotion and thinking clearly. What Damasio found was the opposite. Patients with damage to the emotional centers of the brain, people who could reason perfectly but couldn't feel, became catastrophically bad at making decisions. Not better, worse. Because desire and emotion aren't obstacles to good judgment. They are part of the machinery of judgment. The problem isn't that you feel desire. The problem is that the desire system operates on a faster, older, more automatic timescale than the reasoning system, and in the gap between those two timescales, the decision often gets made before the reasoning even arrives. Pattern interrupt. Because here's the part that will make this feel uncomfortably familiar. Psychologist Walter Mischel at Stanford University conducted research on delayed gratification, most famously, the marshmallow experiments with children in the late 1960s and early 1970s. The simplified version you've probably heard is that children who could wait for a second marshmallow had better life outcomes. But what Mischel actually found, the part that gets left out, was more interesting. The children who successfully waited didn't do it through willpower. They didn't sit there staring at the marshmallow, white-knuckling their way through the desire. They looked away. They distracted themselves. They changed what their attention was doing. The desire didn't disappear. They just stopped feeding it with attention. Because desire follows attention, the way fire follows oxygen. The moment you focus on the thing you want, really focus, really visualize, really feel the pull of it, the desire intensifies. Not because you're weak, because that's exactly what the brain's wanting system does when you point your attention at its target. There's a second reason you keep going back, and this one is darker. It's called the opponent process theory of motivation, developed by psychologist Richard Solomon at the University of Pennsylvania in the 1970s. Here's how it works. Every strong emotional experience, every hit of desire fulfilled, triggers an automatic counter-response in the brain, an opposing state designed to bring you back to equilibrium. The first time you experience something intensely pleasurable, the pleasure is strong and the counter-response is weak. But over time, with repetition, the counter-response strengthens and the pleasure weakens, which means you need more of the thing to get the same feeling. In the absence of the thing, the withdrawal becomes more painful than it used to be. This is why desires that started as something you want to gradually become something you need just to feel normal. The trap doesn't announce itself. It assembles slowly, experience by experience, until the wanting isn't really about the original pleasure anymore. It's about escaping the discomfort of not having it. Here's the open loop that's been building since the beginning of this video. if your desire system is older than your reasoning system, if desire follows attention, if repetition strengthens the pull and weakens the satisfaction, if the brain is literally wired to chase and not to rest, then what are you supposed to do? The answer isn't willpower. Research consistently shows willpower is a limited resource that depletes with use. Roy Baumeister at Florida State University documented this in studies on what he called ego depletion. Trying to out-willpower your desire system is like trying to stop a river with your hands. The river is older than you. It will outlast the effort. What the research actually points toward is different. Matthew Lieberman, a social neuroscientist at UCLA, has studied how the brain responds when people label their emotional states, when they put words to what they're feeling rather than just experiencing it. His research found that naming an emotion, saying, even internally, I'm feeling the pull of this desire right now, activates the prefrontal cortex and reduces the intensity of the limbic system's response, not eliminates it, reduces it. The act of observing the desire, naming it, creating a small moment of distance between you and it, gives the reasoning system a chance to arrive before the decision gets made. And Mitchell's research adds to this, redirecting attention away from the desired object, rather than staring it down through sheer force, reduces the desire's grip more effectively than resistance does. These aren't motivational tricks. They are documented mechanisms for creating a gap between the desire and the action. A gap the older, faster wanting system normally closes before you even realize it's open. You swore you were done, and then you weren't. That doesn't mean you failed. It means you were running hardware that is millions of years old, in a world that figured out, very recently, exactly how to exploit it. The desire will come back. That's not a prediction. That's a fact about how the brain works. The question is not whether you feel it. The question is whether you've learned to create even a few seconds between the feeling and the decision. Because in those few seconds, the reasoning system can arrive. And in those few seconds, you actually have a choice. Asterisk. Thanks for watching. Next time, why the person you are in public and the person you are alone are so different. And what happens psychologically when that gap gets too wide to ignore.